poverty in and of itself does not cause crime. A huge part of what contributes to the enterprise of crime and terrorism and so forth is embedded and metastasized social inequality. But within that realm, you've got to also have a number of extra theoretical factors, and in particular, state failure. And I think this is where the issues get complicated in the case of Nigeria. Decades of poor performance by the state apparatus, not just in the provision of basic necessities of life, but a seeming lack of vision in galvanizing the country towards a defined goal. These things are playing out in a number of ways across various communities. Now, a more relatable way to explain that is the fact that a lot of these attacks are occurring in rural spaces, whether that is in your state, that's a fundamental rural area. And of course, Borno State, so the most recent kidnapping of school children was at a location close to the Sambisa forest. Yeah. These are not accidents of geography. These are very performative and concise selection processes that these bandits or terrorists are making in order to choose where to attack. Now, in other words, for far too many areas in our country, the presence of the government is simply not felt. No police services, no ambulance services, and the occasional encounters you have with soldiers are the only reminders that a government exists. And then, of course, electricity is almost non-existent in a lot of those communities as well. So when you lack such a visible presence, even at a performative level in communities, it is an invitation to chaos. You're simply empowering a lot of non-state, extra-state actors to step in and fill that void. And that's what we see in predominantly rural areas of northeast Nigeria, northwest Nigeria.
So what we are saying is that the presence of governance is lacking in these areas. And so those who are desirous of taking the space have quick opportunities to take them.
Absolutely, and far too easy. It's becoming far too easy, far too comfortable. They don't even have to do a lot. There doesn't have to be any serious, sustained strategic thinking around those elections because these communities are there for the taking. And when you also consider that these are individuals and communities that don't feel any kind of serious connection with the government or the state as an entity, as an institution. So it becomes very easy. And this is part of the reason why Boko Haram, for example, was able to spread within such a very short time.
Yeah, and talking about Boko Haram, you have studied Boko Haram for over 15 years. I've seen documents that you have worked on in the last 15 years. You warned about copycat violence. Prof, did anyone in Abuja listen?
I don't think so. I do not think so. My very first book, this may interest you, was on political kidnapping in the Niger Delta region. I sent a copy of that book to the State House. By the time I returned to Canada, within a couple of months of doing research here, there was an expressly delivered mail from the presidency acknowledging the receipt of the book. So it did get there through the emissary. But within a month or so, the actions of the government showed that nobody had read the book. So it's one thing to do research.
And for the research to
make an impact. And this is the frustration, I think.
So what you are saying, Prof, is that just like you, it appears the government does not listen to outsiders or insiders who are taking the pain to make recommendations.
Absolutely. And I think there is a particular disdain for scholars in governmental circles in our country. I say that with a very saddened heart. In other words, you can write what you want, research what you want, and they will simply do things how they wish. This was not even under the current government, by the way. This was 2015, successive government. So this is not a political party thing necessarily. This is a widespread issue. the failure to conduct governance in a scientific way. I think a lot of policies and programs far too often are just based on political expediency rather than science-backed evidence approach.